Welcome to another edition of the Official Jets podcast, powered by Amazon Web Services. Ethan Greenberg, Eric Allen in the home studios. We'll hear from Bart Scott later in the show, but this week we're joined by undrafted rookie free agent Javelin Guidry.
I feel the need for speed. This guy can burn greens. He's one of the fastest guys in the National Football League. In fact, coming out, he wasn't drafted out of Utah, but he was like a 4.29, and Henry Ruggs was the only guy faster in the draft class at 4.27. The other thing that I really like about Javelin is fans will find out is he comes from a very athletic family, and he's just not a smaller type player who isn't strong. This dude continues to get his hands on the football, knocking the ball out. And I love the fact that he benched 225 pounds 21 times. That's something else for a guy who weighs about 190.
It's very impressive, and we did ask Javelin Guidry if DeVante Parker actually caught that ball, that the refs called a catch, and it was officially ruled as a forced fumble from Javelin. And, we asked him his opinion on that. But I will say, when the Jets played the Raiders a couple weeks ago, there was a speed-on-speed crime. Henry Ruggs, Javelin Guidry knocked that ball out for the second straight week.
Yeah, and you're seeing that early on in his career, and that's what you want to see if you're the Jets personnel department and if you are the Jets fan base. Obviously, the Jets are still looking for that first win. 0-13, one of the most difficult seasons in franchise history. We talk about it each and every week, but you want to see development and opportunity for some of these young guys. And Guidry is a guy who played at the highest level, college football at Utah, was a nickel back, decided to come out after his junior year, took the undrafted route, signed with the Jets, and now with Brian Poole, unfortunately, out of the lineup, he's getting opportunities at that nickel spot. So let's see what he can do over these final 3 games. Do not tell me these final 3 games are not important in the National Football League season. Yes, the Jets aren't going anywhere in 3 weeks. We know that. But you only have 3 games remaining until next summer.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. This is the time of year where you start to see what you have in the future. And Javelin Guidry is someone that's taken advantage of his opportunities. And he played the most snaps of his young career against the Seattle Seahawks yesterday as we record this podcast Monday afternoon. So let's hear from Javelin Guidry right now. I read somewhere that you started competing in track and field at 7 years old. Is that true?
Yes, started at a young age, just getting the flow of it. My dad said I was gifted with speed, so just being able to compete using my speed, it's been a blessing at a young age.
Javelin, we have so many things to get to with you. First thing I want to talk about is what made you leave Utah after 3 years?
I was just confident in my ability to play at the next level. I felt like I was ready, and I took the chance on myself and believed in myself, and here I am now.
So quick follow-up, though. You went undrafted. Was there a lot of disappointment that weekend, or you knew all along, listen, I'm betting on myself. I'm going to make it no matter what?
Yeah, that weekend there was definitely disappointment, but it was more of, all right, I still believe in myself and my abilities on the field, and wherever I go undrafted, I'm going to make the most of my opportunities.
You're someone that ran one of I believe, the second fastest 40-yard dash at the combine behind Henry Ruggs. You mentioned your track and field speed. When was the first time you knew that you were fast and you believed it?
I'd say probably at a young age, like 8, 9 years old. I played soccer, and I would always chase people down, running with the ball and defending the ball. And that's when I was in track as well, and I just felt it in me, and my parents always told me that I was fast and gifted with speed, and just being able to use it now is great.
Javelin, you are one of the fastest players in the National Football League. Green said, you were a 4.27 maybe at the combine, and Ruggs might have been a 4.22, but I'm going to go further beyond that. Is Javelin Guidry one of the fastest people in the entire country? I'm not just talking about the National Football League, but all athletes, including Olympians, because I wanted to know, do you have any Olympic dreams, or you put that on hold forever?
I really did track just to become faster for football, and in high school I did, and realizing I was faster than that, and just getting faster. I definitely had Olympic aspirations, but I felt like football was where I was, and I really want to do the Olympics just to compete with the fastest in the world and in America as well, just to see where I stand. And I'm a competitor first off, so just being able to go out there in a different sport, that's what I love to do.
So are you a Usain Bolt guy? I feel like when people think about the fastest men in the world, most people think of Usain Bolt.
Oh yeah, he's different for real. He's fast. I'm confident in myself. At the end of the day, I'm going to compete. So
I think about Carl Lewis. That's before your time, Javelin. I don't know if anybody's told you a little bit about Carl Lewis, but he's one of the top sprinters in the history of this country. There's no doubt about that. What was your favorite event in terms of track and field?
I'd say the 100 meters for me, but also the 4x4. Just that's always the last event, and just everyone's watching that event as well. And I did that a couple times to get ready for the 100. So just that's just all just inner dog that race. The 400. That's a tough race, and competing at that and watching people compete at that is great to see.
You know, you were talking about that you use track as a way to get faster for football. What was your introduction to football? Was it your dad? Was it your uncle? And your family is very athletic. So with that being said, are you the fastest one in the family too?
Yes, no doubt. My uncle, he'll say he'll give me a 10 meters, and I'm waiting for him to heal up so we can race. But yeah, just yeah, my dad and uncle, they both played at UCLA, and at a young age, I played little league football, Pop Warner, and I was always a running back. And just going through that, going through middle school, and then my dad told me that, look, running back, you're gonna take a lot of hits, but if you move to DB, like I was, you'll be able to compete, have fun, and play for a long time. So I made the switch my freshman or sophomore year, and I've been that ever since.
What is the backstory? How did you not wind up at UCLA? You just talked about your family and the background there, but you went to another Pac 12 school, of course, at Utah.
Yes, unfortunately, they didn't offer me or look at me, recruit me at all. So, and I that was one of my dream schools growing up as well. So, because my mom went there as well, my dad, my uncle, and some cousins. So, my brother's in there now, so I'm able to live through him. But yeah, I was at Utah. So,
And what did you like about Utah in particular?
I love the family aspect up there. Just a lot of people come from many different places, from Florida, Texas, California, even Utah, and just coming together, learn to work hard, and compete at a high level over there. It's in the Pac-12. We were Pac-12 South champions for 2 years, and it was a great time playing up there.
Okay, so why don't you tell everybody who the coach was at Utah because he's been there a long time and super successful. And after you do that, what kind of mentality did he approach football with? Because I think it's carried through that program for close to 2 decades now.
Yes, Coach Witt and the big dog. He's just teaching us how to just work hard and trust the process. It's going to be some days are going to be easy, some days are going to be hard. Most of the days were hard, and so just pushing through, trusting your teammates, and doing your job. At the end of the day, you're going to be successful. And he taught me a lot of life lessons. Him and Coach Shaw, Coach Scowley, they were great coaches for me during my career at Utah.
You know, what was football and really sports like for you growing up? Because you were born in California, you go to Texas, you go back to California. Was it difficult at all to try to find a rhythm and try to really put yourself on the map?
It was different for the social aspect, making new friends. But at the end of the day, it was just competing and trying to take someone's job wherever the new school we went to, and be able to get recruited wherever we went. And me and my brother, we worked hard together. At first, wherever we moved to Texas, and just build a name for ourselves and the schools we were at.
What kind of advice would you give kids who bounce around a little bit for no matter the reason? Because everybody's got a different family situation, and a lot of times jobs bring parents different places. But like Ethan mentioned, three different high schools. I got to imagine your athletic background really helped you get friends quickly because you had those inner circles of people that you were hanging out with beyond the classroom.
Yes, I would say just be able to sacrifice and understand whatever reason may be for you moving. It's for the best, and you just have to learn how to adapt wherever you are. And I was able to make lots of friends, life friends that I have now from the different high schools I went to. And leaving was definitely hard, but understanding that you're able to go to a new place and it's a brand new start. You got to make a name for yourself again. It really helped me in my career, and even now.
What's the most significant differences between growing up in California and growing up in Texas?
I'm not gonna lie. So I grew up in California, and when we found out we were moving to Texas, my mom told me I had the stereotype of like the cowboys and uh, horses and all that, but it's really not like that. I say it's just California is more city-like, but Texas is more. They have their cities, but it's more like country-like almost where I was, and so I'm grateful to be at both places and have friends in both spots.
So do you prefer In and Out or Whataburger?
In and out, all the way. All
Hey man, you got more than just speed. I'm jealous of you because I'm thinking, yeah, Javelin, he's a good athlete, obviously, in a sprinter speed, but 225, 21 times?
yes.
How were you able to do that? Because what do you weigh? You probably weigh about 190 pounds. Have you always been really good in the weight room, or is that something that you worked tremendously hard at and got better over the years? Because that's unheard of. 21 reps at 225.
Yeah, I was always weight room oriented throughout college at Utah, and growing up, I would always do push-ups before I go to bed and when I wake up. And uh, during the combine training, I would wanted to make a point to get my age at least. So just working hard, um, being able to put up those numbers, it was a great accomplishment for me.
Javelin, can you take us back to the pre-draft process and what your interactions were like with the Jets and why you eventually decided to choose to sign with the Jets?
I'd say I had one meeting with the Jets with Coach D, and that was actually my last meeting before like we did all the testing and all that. And just I felt like after the draft, seeing like where I was gonna go, I felt like that was the best place for me to succeed within their system, and being able to make the most of my opportunity wherever I go. And New York was a place for me.
What kind of advice would you give kids growing up, people in college who are playing that nickel position? Because that's one of the toughest positions in all of sports, I think, Javelin. And you did it all throughout your time at Utah. And now you're doing this at the professional level with the New York Jets.
Yeah, I'd say eyes are the key, and you got to be physical. You're basically a faster linebacker. You got to be able to cover slot receivers as well as get your nose in there in the tackles, and so just being able to do both and mentally preparing as well. Preparing yourself, it'll make the game much easier for you at the end of the day.
A lot of coaches and veteran players talk about this offseason, the one that you signed with the Jets in as obviously a unique one without any in-person meetings, no OTAs, no mini camp. Your first time meeting these teammates of yours is in training camp. There's no preseason. How much have you learned since you first set foot in the building to now, and what's it been like for you to get some more playing time as of late?
Yeah, just going back to training camp or even before that, the virtual meetings just for me being able to talk with my fellow rookies and the DBs in the room, just learning the playbook, studying day in day out, and coming up here training camp, working hard, and just learning to prove and reprove myself each day. And um, it's paid off the hard work, and now being able to play, it's a blessing.
Javelin, let us in on a little secret. Was that a catch by DeVante Parker? I'm still going back and looking at the tape. That was ridiculous.
The refs called it, but my coach was like, "That's no catch." Everyone told me it's no catch. So I try to get it out. Always punch the ball out.
And you've
And then
had
you
to.
had the other forced fumble too the next week.
Yep.
Uh,
So is that something that, again, are you trained to do? You obviously you learn to do that, but again, some guys don't have a knack for it. You've shown a knack for it here early in your career. There are a lot of guys who might play that position for a long time, and it will take them a while to force a fumble. But we're expecting that out of you every week.
Yeah, just learning here to coach details is to play violently through the pocket, whether we're tackling or the ball's in the air, just be violent. And I've been doing it in practice, practicing it, and being able to do it in the game and come up with a fumble. I thought it was incomplete first, so I'm just going for the ball and just figured out it was a fumble, just trying to hold them back. And Marcus came and scooped it. It was a great feeling for sure.
Speaking of Marcus, what interception were you more impressed with? That one in Miami where he, hit it up in the air, fell down, went around his butt, got some help, or the one against the Seattle Seahawks where he's going one on one with one of the best receivers in football, DK Metcalf, and he comes down with the pick of Russell Wilson.
Yeah, they're both great. I would say I like the Miami one, just catching the one hand like on your butt too. That's crazy. But the one yesterday was great too. Just being able to track the ball and come down with it against DK. That was a great play. I was hyped for him for sure.
Javelin, who do you lean on in the secondary in terms of wisdom and knowledge? Because that's a room that's very young in itself. And obviously, you think of the graybeard of both the secondary or the safeties and the corners, you think of somebody like Marcus May. But outside of Marcus, is there somebody that you turn to more than others?
I turned to Art. Uh, just he's been a real great mentor for me. Just with being able to transition into the league, learn how to be a great professional. Marcus as well, but I'd say the rookies as well. Just us being tight, me, Bryce, Lamar, Ashton, just talking about our experiences and what we're going through. We're able to learn from each other, and yeah, Art and Marcus, they've been great leaders for us, and I learned a lot from them. I'm grateful.
Who was your team growing up? You talked about your California roots. So if you had an NFL favorite team, who was it? And the follow up there is you're going back to California again this weekend. No fans in the stadium, so a little bit different. But I got to imagine it's got to be special on that plane ride going back to your home state, knowing where you're at.
Yeah, my team. I'd say the Ravens, just because my brothers was a Steelers fan, so I'd always try to be the opposite of him. So I just pick the Ravens. But yeah, going back to California, being able to play in the city I was born, Inglewood, it's definitely a blessing. I wish there were fans there, but it's always great going back to California. I love it.
A Lakers fan?
Yes, I was. Growing up, I was a Lakers fan.
Okay, because I wanted to tell you quickly, former Jets head coach Herm Edwards, who's at Arizona State right now, monstrous Lakers fan. He used to walk up and down the halls at Weeb Bank Hall saying, "It's all good in Inglewood."
That's funny. Yeah.
So wait, so you said you were a Lakers fan. Does that mean you're not a Lakers fan anymore?
I'm more like a players fan, so I like watching just players compete at the end of the day. But yeah, my family's Lakers, so I'll rock with the Lakers for now.
Oh man, what a ride it's been. How would you describe the past year of your life? Because 2020 has been crazy for a lot of people for a myriad of reasons. But you're in the NFL, you broke in undrafted, you're taking an uncommon road right now, and you're getting a lot of playing time here down the stretch in your rookie year.
Yeah, it's a blessing. All glory to God this year. It's been a long year for me, rookie season. They said it would be, and just from declaring from the draft to being here now playing in the league, it's just been a blessing. And just every day, just treating it like a new day and being appreciative of being here at this level and staying safe at the same time is really fun.
Awesome stuff from Javelin Guidry, who EA and I said earlier, getting more opportunity as of late. And right now, EA, the Jets are in the middle of a back-to-back West Coast trip. They played the Seahawks, then this week they're playing the Rams, but in a non-COVID world, you would have likely seen the team stay out on the West Coast. Now, the Jets have to come all the way back, before going all the way back out there to take on the first place leaders of the NFC West.
Yeah, how about the Patriots? They got some kind of break with the scheduling because they had a Sunday game against the Chargers. They shut them out in blowout fashion. But then just a couple days before the Thursday night game against the Rams, and Rams really took it to them. And you mentioned the Jets' travel schedule this year, West Coast. Filled with a lot of trips out there, back to back now, Seattle and Los Angeles. I think, in fact, this is the second most miles in franchise history in terms of a schedule. So yes, the Jets putting on those frequent flyer miles. But the last game of the season is not a bad trip at all. You know this awfully well. You take a plane up to Providence for that Patriots game. You're in the air about 32 minutes or so.
It is an up and down flight, similar to Buffalo, actually. And for the Jets, though, I think when we'll hear from Bart Scott, obviously, and we'll break down this matchup a little more. But I just want to say that this Rams team, a couple of years ago, you're thinking about Sean McVay, you're thinking of Jared Goff and that offense. That Rams defense is one of, if not the best units in the NFL, and they deserve, I think, a little more credit than what they're getting.
Maybe it's because it's East Coast bias. I don't know. You can make an argument. Seriously, you can make the argument that Aaron Donald is the best player in the National Football League. I'm not saying the most important player because quarterback, you need a quarterback position figured out no matter what team you are. But that front is amazing. I was watching some tape of that game against the Patriots. 6 sacks. And I think the Patriots finished with like 210 total yards. And a lot of times, Ethan, they're getting there just rushing four. Yeah, they'll blitz on occasion, they'll bring five, but they don't have to bring numbers. And Aaron Donald is just a unique freak. He's a force. He's dominant on the interior.
And then, of course, they have Jalen Ramsey, who's
Yeah.
been doing a wonderful job in the secondary. He locked up DK Metcalf. He locked up DeAndre Hopkins. And in that division, you need someone like Jalen Ramsey to go up against those two guys that I just mentioned. But for a more of an in-depth look at Jets Rams, let's hear from Bart Scott for our Victorinox Swiss Army Knife Player of the Game segment. Okay, Bart, so the Jets travel back out to L.A. to take on the Rams, their second of back-to-back West Coast trips. What's your matchup to watch?
I mean, this is going to be interesting because there's a lot of different ways you can go, but I think you got to go squarely on Makai. I talked to Makai a couple weeks ago, and he said that he was going to be excited to see what Aaron Donald brought to the table as they continue to bring Aaron Donald and put him outside. But if you look secretly, Leonard Floyd is having one of those games or one of those seasons where you say, okay, well, this is exactly what the Chicago Bears thought they were getting when they drafted him in the first round, and he's playing at a high level too. So I don't know if Makai is going to get a much of a time off because he's going to be challenged off early and often from this defensive line. But there's a lot of different ways you can go, man. Because Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, you saw that the Jets really gave up a lot of yardage early on against Seattle, on those jet sweeps. Well, that's exactly what the Rams do early and often with Woods coming in some of those ghost motions, those Ricky Williams speed sweeps, and without Jordan Jenkins there trying to solidify and lock down the corner, it's going to be exciting to see what happens. But if I had to pick one, I'm gonna go back to my original and talk about Becton versus Floyd and Aaron Donald.
Oh, I love it. And I'm going to steal some of his thunder because the Jets are facing perhaps maybe the best player in the National Football League. He doesn't play the most important position, which of course is quarterback, but Aaron Donald, fellas, 12 and a half sacks this year. Bart talked about Leonard Floyd. He's got 7.5 sacks. Michael Brockers has chipped in with 5 sacks. Listen to these statistics for the Rams. Number one in total defense. Number one in yards per play. Number one in passing defense. Number three in rush defense. Number three in sacks per pass attempt. Second in third down efficiency. This is the best defense in the National Football League, and the best defensive player in the league is Aaron Donald. And I wanted to ask Bart about this because the Rams, they're a 3-4 front. And a lot of times they don't have to blitz because they can get there just rushing four. Aaron Donald might be matched up a lot against new Jets guard Pet Elflein, not the outside guy in Mekhi Becton. How do you double a guy like Aaron Donald? Because you can't have a guard just matched up against him one-on-one every play, Bart.
Well, yeah, you could if you put the tight end to that side, and that allows Becton not to be secure for the edge. So that allows maybe Griffin or Herndon to be responsible for the outside pass rusher, and you can chip with those two guys, and then let Mekhi come in and get a free world class shot. And you got to tell the guard, hey, don't miss inside, don't miss outside, miss inside, because then now he'll have to split the double between him. And if you're doing that, you also want to be able to let him go a couple of times as well, because you saw when they played the Patriots, they would just trap him and wham block him a lot, right? Because he gets through and because he shoots off the ball so fast that if the guy above in front of him doesn't block him, you can kind of trap block him and use his momentum and his aggressiveness against him. You got to give him a steady dose, because if you just allow him to line up in a three-point stance and think that anybody that you put in front of him is going to be able to consistently hold their own against him, you're going to be mistaken. But they've gotten better at moving him around so that you can't just put a target on him like teams do it in Ndamukong Suh. They've been able to move him around and allow him to be like that pawn piece where if they find a weakness in your front, that he's going to exploit it.
Ethan, before you go ahead, I just wanted to ask Bart real quick. If you're the Jets offensively and you're coming off a 3-point performance against Seattle, I just wanted to see if you thought you got to run a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, go a lot of double tights, and maybe at times 3 tight ends against this team.
Well, traditionally, when you think about when you go with those personnels, teams don't have a lot of blitz packages with it, and you hope that they go heavy and hope that you can maybe take your chances one-on-one on the outside. The problem is, if you want to do that, you're going against arguably the best corner in the game, and Ramsey. So he may take that away. So then the blitz or the pass rush will eventually get there. I think you have to be creative. I think you can go 2 tight ends, but you may try and go with slot fronts so you can still have your backside and your edge is your tight end, but then you have your 2 receivers on the field, on the same side. So then you can kind of force Sam to only have to read half the field because both his receivers to the left and your check down and what you have left is going over to the tight end. So now you waste Ramsey on somebody you waste Ramsey on a tight end that's not coming out. And then you're able to work one side of the field opposite him and force him to just kind of waste himself sitting there on the backside bored to death. And then hopefully maybe later you sneak one out on the low where he thinks that, lull him to sleep and then maybe get a vertical route by Herndon while he's sleeping.
For my matchup to watch, I'm going to go with this Jets run defense against the Rams rushing attack last week. Rookie Cam Akers against the New England Patriots ran wild. The Seahawks did a good job moving the ball against the Jets front that takes pride in stopping the run. So, Bart, what did you see out of this Jets rush defense last week against the Seahawks, maybe compared to what they did the week before that to the Raiders? And what do they now need to do, and how do they prepare for this Rams rushing attack?
I mean, you just have to make sure that you have borders, right? Make sure that everybody has a run in between the tackles. You can't give up your perimeter because when you do that, you cut the defense. And I think to answer your other question, what did they do different from, from the Raiders? You think that they had their starting running back. Josh Jacobs didn't play in that game, so they didn't have their number one. And you look at Chris Carson, he's coming back. He's a guy that they've been waiting to come back. He dramatically changed their defense. He's a tone setter with Carlos Hyde, and they were able to just continue to try and wear the team down. And when you're out there and you don't really get opportunity and drives are extended, eventually that dam will break, and it broke. And when it breaks in, it's free yards out there for everybody to get. And also you have Russell Wilson. It's a element of his game and what he's able to do in extending plays. Now you don't have to worry about that with golf, but with Russell Wilson, you have to worry about him being creative and creating on the fly because his ability to be a dual threat quarterback.
Awesome. That was another great edition of the Victorinox Swiss Army Knife Player of the Game segment, and that wraps up another edition of the Official Jets podcast powered by Amazon Web Services. Bart, as always, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.